Tonight, a man shot by police on the Southern Highlands. Claims government is stonewalling Illawarra's push for a rescue helicopter service. And South Coast residents support Catherine's flood victims.
This is Win News.
Good evening. Police have launched an internal investigation after a man was shot by an officer in his parents' Mossvale home. Geoffrey McAloon remains in a stable condition in hospital.
Police were called to this Hill Road house shortly before midnight after neighbours reported that there appeared to be an intruder inside. On arrival, officers noticed an unregistered car outside and tried to enter the house through an open window on the back veranda. That's when the trouble began.
As he opened that window, he announced the police were here and that they were going to enter the house. As he did so, he was confronted by a male person who came from inside the house into that room, armed with a baseball bat. He challenged the police officer, who fired 2 shots from his service revolver, and one of those shots struck the man in the chest.
But the victim, Geoffrey McAloon, claims it was a police bungle because he was in his own home.
I think in my house I should be able to defend it any way I like. You know, a baseball bat's not sort of too out of control. I'm sure half the people in Sydney have got a baseball bat or an iron bar.
The bullet passed through Geoffrey McAloon's chest and came out below his left arm. An ambulance took the 34-year-old Mossvale man to Bowral Hospital, where he's in a stable condition.
Well, it's not like in the movies. Most people think it's incredible pain and that. It actually feels like a soldering iron buried in its incredible heat, radiating out.
Meantime, the officer involved in the shooting was shaken by the turn of events and is receiving counselling. The incident has divided the town of Mossvale. Residents are arguing whether the officer was justified or not in his actions. A police internal investigation has been launched to find the answer to that very question. How long the inquiry will take is not yet known. Jason Jornhoff, Win News.
The Illawarra's own rescue helicopter is in jeopardy of never leaving the helipad because of a lack of state government funding. The Lifesaver Rescue Helicopter Service has accused the government of stonewalling it, saying it may have to reconsider its option to base one of its helicopters in the Illawarra.
For the last 2 years, the Lifesaver Rescue Helicopter Service has been working towards the establishment of an Illawarra-based service using this site. In August last year, they sent submissions to the Minister for Emergency Services, Police and Health, seeking funding assistance. Those ministers have failed to respond.
And we wonder, why would the Illawarra be treated any differently to the Hunter and to the far north coast? Both of those operations, Lifesaver Rescue Helicopter operations, have 2 helicopters in each region.
Up until now, the Lifesaver Helicopter Service has remained silent, allowing local politicians like Ian McManus to take up their cause. But time is running out. While the community is donating funds to cover rescue operations, money for medical retrievals, which usually comes from the state government, is not forthcoming. It's believed $500,000 is needed.
Surely these people understand that the community is deserving of that.
Wollongong Council is contributing $500,000 to construct a hangar for our helicopter. But if the state government fails to make a decision on the funding issue before the March starting date, it's understood the board members will consider their options and may axe the project entirely. Rod Maley, Win News.
Unions haven't ruled out taking industrial action against a company which told its workers today its Wollongong operations will cease within 6 to 8 weeks. More than 100 jobs are at stake at Joy Mining.
Established in 1945, the industrial company specialising in manufacturing and servicing mining machinery has undergone several changes in ownership. But it wasn't until 2 years ago Longwall International and Joy Mining Machinery joined forces. Today it turns over in excess of $180 million a year in Australia alone. But there is no such financial joy among the company's Wollongong workers. Today they were told in less than 8 weeks they'll no longer be working in the Illawarra.
They were told this morning, and the company sent them home with pay and saying, well, here's a letter, 6 to 8 weeks, thanks very much.
As part of the company's rationalising program, the Wollongong business will be moved to its Mossvale plant. This morning, management from both facilities were locked in a 2-hour meeting. With plenty to discuss, including the future of more than 100 employees, surprisingly, management emerged with nothing to say. Unions are angered by the decision, claiming the company failed to negotiate a suitable agreement.
If that's the way you do industrial relations these days, then it leaves a lot to be desired for this company.
Unions haven't ruled out taking industrial action, which could involve 200 workers at the company's Mossvale headquarters. Stella Laurie, Win News.
Water restrictions have been introduced in the Illawarra with a ban placed on the use of fixed sprinklers and hoses. The Shire is being supplied from Deep Creek Dam near Bateman's Bay, which is at 81% capacity, with no water being drawn from the usual sources of Maruya, Turos and Buckenbora rivers. A special appeal has been launched in the Illawarra to help victims of the floods at Katherine in the Northern Territory.
3 people have so far drowned and hundreds have been made homeless in the worst floods seen in the Katherine area in 40 years. As the floodwaters recede and people return to clean up the mess, this week the makers of Libra feminine hygiene products have been forced to apologise for an advertisement showing a photograph of the devastated town. While the caption, "Katherine could use some of these," has been labelled as in bad taste and un-Australian, Wollongong Minister Reverend Gordon Bradbury agrees it's not untrue. He's urging the Illawarra to donate all types of hygiene products.
So many people up there at the present time are trying to get their lives back together, and these sort of things are pretty low on the priority list as far as needs are concerned, but I think they're very important just for the people's self-esteem.
With people in Katherine having to queue for hours for basic food items, the Reverend says everything from soap to shampoo and antiseptic is needed.
I'm also hoping that the community might also offer some cash assistance as well, so that we can cover the freight costs, because I'd like to fly as much of the material up as possible.
Donations can be made at Wollongong's Uniting Church in the mall all this week.
One day we might need the same help and the reciprocal kindness, so I'm mindful of the fact that it's like a boomerang. What goes out also comes back at times.
Rachel Lee Walden, Win News.
In the news ahead, calls for a facelift for Wollongong CBD and police launch Operation Catch a Thief.